Welcome to another episode of Hometown Conversations with Sharon St.Clair and Jenny DeLucia. I'm Sharon St.Clair with Howard Hanna Real Estate, and this is Jenny DeLucia with Spill With Me with Jenny D podcast. We are so happy to be joining and having you join us today in February for Love Month. And love takes many forms. So you saw our recent episode about financial love, and today we're here to talk with Alyssa Robb, who is a relationship therapist. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you.
Introduce yourself, your background a little bit to the viewers.
Okay, so I am a licensed clinical social worker. I've been in private practice for about 22 years, I think it is, 23 years. And I work with a wide variety of individuals. Mostly, lately it's been older teens and adults and couples. And I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in social work. And so that's what I've been doing.
Yes, I love it. So we're going to ask you some questions.
Sure.
Sharon and I have some questions for you, and we call this the Love Month. You know, it's Valentine's and it's Heart Month as well for February. So we're going to start with the question. So what is the most common issues couples come to you with?
Disconnection.
Yeah.
And really, usually that doesn't necessarily bring them in. Something usually happens, an affair often.
Right.
And so it's rebuilding and learning how to communicate and just working on those skills and trying to see if can we make this work.
Right. Yeah, because to tie that, what are you seeing now with communication breakdown, trust issues, burnout, emotional disconnection? So is it a lot to do with the communication?
It is. The disconnection there is, we forget to be intentional in our relationship. And we don't try as hard. As time goes on, we don't try as hard. And so I think that one of the things that I try to help people with, how can you be intentional and intentionally show your partner that you love them? What steps can you take? So those types of things we work on a lot. And then of course, if there's a lot of hurt or trauma from any of the behaviors, talking about that as well.
Right, the communication.
So in today's world, social media is taking such a prominent role in everyone's life. How has social media and texting changed relationship dynamics?
Well, I think that part of it is you don't have to be as vulnerable when you're texting someone.
That's true.
It's true.
You hide behind it.
You can hide behind it.
The words.
Right. And so it loses some intimacy. The texting loses some intimacy. And as hard as it may feel to talk in person, it actually is much better and much easier to get through situations. So there's that piece. The other part, as you and I were talking earlier, is looking and seeing other people's lives and thinking, having that expectation, this is what my life should look like, when really what's happening is that's not everything. People are just posting the positives, the happies, all of those things, which of course, nobody's, it makes
Nobody's
sense.
Having that perfect relationship.
No, and no one's having that perfect relationship. So sometimes we start to compare, which then makes us feel badly, thinking we're doing something wrong, when really that's not true at all. This human experience is very similar in terms of challenges and difficult and hard work, that type of thing. And in relationships, we're all in the same boat. It looks a little bit different. The issues on the table look a little bit different, but no one escapes that.
It's really changed. I feel like a lot of people are meeting their spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend on social media. So they're not even really meeting each other in person. They're talking so much Snapchat and all the different things that they have out there. And it's like, that's not what we grew up doing.
No, and the other thing too, I think, is that because it's so immediately available with these dating apps and things like that, then if you don't have that chemistry immediately, that spark immediately, then oftentimes people will shut that down and just go for the next thing, as opposed to saying, you know what, I am going to try for that next date. I am going to just see, because there was something that I did like, that felt okay, but the expectation has increased so much, because then you can just go on and have this whole slew of other people to choose from. So it doesn't let us kind of sit with it a little bit and get to know someone, but you just keep going on to the next, to the
What is
next.
it? Slide right, left?
Yeah, I think so. I don't even know.
So in that situation, what you're saying is, if I'm understanding you, is that because there is such this massive universe of options for
Yes.
people, that they've really elevated that they want perfection. They want that
Absolutely.
curated image, that they see all this happiness. And if they don't have that immediately, they're like, okay, on to the next one, because they're in a candy store of humanity.
That's a
Right.
good one, Sharon.
I just made that up.
I know.
It's true, though. That is true. I mean, and the thing is that we all are imperfect.
Yeah.
And our partner is imperfect.
I hate that word. Who even came up with that word,
know.
perfect?
Yeah,
Seriously.
I know.
That doesn't
I know.
even make sense.
But when and if we don't go into a relationship knowing that and just thinking, well, you know what, you're not doing it for me, and here's the next best thing, here's the next thing I can just move on to, because now we do have a lot of options that, a lot of things available to us that weren't available to us years and years ago.
That's true. You had to wait for the phone to ring. You didn't have
Or a
that
friend to set you up.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Or to go out on a
Blind
Friday
date.
night or whatever it was. Now it's like, oh, okay.
I know. Now, what do you think about, like, now, how do anxiety and depression affect relationships? So that, I feel like that has really, which I'm glad that people are talking about it more, because a lot of people are hiding and they're not talking about anxiety and depression. So how does that affect the relationship?
I think what happens is that if you are experiencing anxiety and depression, which a lot of people do, it's not uncommon, it tends to make us go inward and to focus on ourselves more. And as we know in relationships, we can't do that all of the time. I mean, you really have to be able to see your partner, take their perspective, all of those things. So when you're experiencing anxiety and depression, we go in because we're trying to feel better. So in that sense, it does.
Yes. Okay.
So, what are some simple communication tools that people could, watching at home, if you were a couple, start to use immediately?
So I know it sounds so simple, but talk about things. And people don't talk about things. They don't talk about how they're feeling. If it's uncomfortable, they tend to sweep under the rug because they don't want to start the fight. But what I think people don't
I love that.
remember or don't know is that the more you sweep under, the more it just builds up, and then the resentment builds, and then you have a big explosion of some sort. So it doesn't go away. So avoiding the problem doesn't mean it goes away. So that's what I
true.
think. I think that there's that misconception. Well, if I just forget about it, and certainly you have to let go of little things, but if you, by avoiding it, doesn't mean it's not there. So that's what I would say. And how to begin that is to really get, I think that you can come up with some, I'm trying to think with some of my clients what I do, and check in every day. Like, even if it's and people's lives are very busy. Dinner time, right before bed, just check in. How was your day? What went well today?
Yeah.
What didn't go well today? And oftentimes too, if we're really trying to be intentional in the relationship, it's, here's what you did today that really made me feel seen. And here's what I would love you to do more of. That
Being
type
appreciative
of thing.
in a relationship, yes. For like the
Absolutely.
smallest things,
It
you
is.
know, getting like a cup of coffee made.
Yes.
Say thank you.
Yes.
And that's, sometimes you forget to say that. I mean, it's the easiest word to say is
I
thank
know.
you. I appreciate what you've
Right,
done.
that's right. So if you have a set time of 10 minutes at night, we're just going to check in with each other. Because, again, intentional.
Yeah.
Because people don't often do that.
Right.
And in relationships, it's not just, your spouse. It's those important relationships with people, family, friends, where you're trying to be intentional. You're trying to be that better part of the relationship.
Right.
So I'm assuming all of that applies to this as well.
It does. It does. And one of the other things too that I think is a more generally, I think, is try to look at, you know, from that person's lens, their perspective.
Yes.
If they were to tell you, if they were to say, oh, and I guess I'm thinking more of maybe, you know, romantic couples, if you're having an issue, gosh, I wonder, and I'm going to say it in my words, what I think you're feeling, what I think you are experiencing in this situation.
Is that called mirroring?
Yeah, I guess it is. I guess, yeah, it can be.
Look at you, Sharon.
I know.
Forget real estate, girl.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, so you're basically saying the communication, the appreciation that you feel with each other. You know, we were talking about this too. Is like we're so busy, you know, and sometimes we forget to say the things that we should say, or even like having dinner together. Like there were times where, you know, growing up, like everybody sat at the table and had dinner together. So how do you, with a busy schedule, how do you stay connected? This was funny, what my husband and I did, and we still do, not as often now, but when we had our son, we made it a point every Saturday night we had a date night. Date night, yes. I love that.
And we kept that. I mean, we do that too. No matter what. And that was, and we actually copied a couple that they started doing that, and it was interesting because theirs would just be even runs to Target on a Saturday. It could be things like that.
Right.
And now
Just being together.
Just being together. So once a week we always did that. So that's something too, but it doesn't need to be, you know, it's just, again, this is just for us. We're going to turn the TV off. We're going to put our phones down. We're going to have dinner together. We are going to just focus on the two of us for X amount of time.
Put the phones down, right, Sharon? It's like the phones become like our life, our lifeline. Wait, somebody's calling me, or somebody just texted me. All the dings, like I feel like I hear it in my sleep.
I know it. It's true.
Right?
Yes.
It's really taking out the white noise of, you know, devices. And just giving someone to be present in the moment. You're important. That phone's off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Living in the moment, yeah.
Yeah, intentional and in the moment. What advice would you give? So we've talked about some of the habits that strengthen a relationship. Are there any other habits? So we've talked about being intentional. We've talked about date night, affirming maybe what you've done for, you know, this is, you know, how was your day, checking in.
Checking in, yes.
And then, you know, you did this really well today. And just positive affirmation that, again, relationships to me are walls. So you're either building or you're tearing down. And they can be a bulldozer, or they can also be a very slow decay, one brick at a time. But so can the building.
Right.
Are there any other habits that you can think of that would be good for building?
I think, and this may seem simple, but I think learning new things together.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like dancing, like going to.
I mean, which is light and simple, but it's having fun together.
Right.
Having fun together.
Laughing.
Having fun together, learning something new, being active.
Right.
Those things are helpful. You know, we think about when we have children and we take them to the zoo, we take them to the library, we plan all of these things, and we stop doing that for our partners later on. Yes. And so plan things, do things. And you know, obviously as families as well, but I think we're talking more of couples now.
Right.
But I think that's a huge piece of, especially when you've been married for a long time too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes on what I was going to say too. And this question is because I'm entering that empty nester stage.
Yes.
No, and you know, you have to kind of like find yourself again and
Mm-hmm.
figure out, like, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like, my life was taking care of the kids and, you know, going to all these activities, and you're so busy. Then all of a sudden everything just stops. And you're like, okay, wait, what am I doing now?
Right. Well, and that's the individual piece too, right? And working, and sometimes it's fun. You go back and think, well, what did I like to do when I was younger? what did I do? And it's hard sometimes to remember because we get so caught up in caretaking as moms, you know. So, but what did I like to do before, and what makes me feel accomplished, and what can I do? And so individually you do that, and then maybe with your, you know, with your partner, with your husband, you find something new to learn and new to do together.
That's true. I do like that.
So are there some, you know, are there, in because we're talking about couples right now, if you have disagreements, do you recommend certain ground rules that couples should establish if they're having a disagreement, you know, so that things don't go become irreversible?
So often what tends to happen, I don't know how often, I shouldn't say that, but one person is a little more reactive than the other person. So that person that's more reactive wants to talk right now. And the person that's less reactive, less emotive is just pulling back. So a couple of things that it's harmful for, it's called stonewalling, and it's ignoring each other. And so that's harmful. And so, but it's okay to need to take a break, but then promise each other you're going to come back and you're going to revisit it. So if it's getting heated and one person is becoming overly upset or highly reactive, I say pause, take a break. You're going to say, we're going to come back to this in 30 minutes. We're going to come back to this in 24 hours. Whatever it is that you come to an agreement. And I'll work with people with these types of things depending on what their pattern is, because everybody has different patterns. Right. And you need to come back to it. That's the thing. So take the pause, and if things start to get heated with name calling and things like that, absolutely.
So don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it.
Address it maybe later.
Right.
Because you could be in a bad mood that day, or something could have happened at work, or, you know, and then it just kind of escalates into like this big fight, and you're like, wait a minute, we were just yelling because the bed wasn't made. What were we really arguing about, right?
Right, and that's another big thing in therapy, is that typically, I mean, so often what you're arguing about isn't what's right in front of you. It's about the past. It's about something that may have nothing to do with your partner.
Right.
And there's a little term or little saying I like to say, and some other therapists do too, and it's if it's hysterical, then it's historical. So
I got to write that down. I like that.
Yeah. So if it's over the top,
right,
and then in terms of a reaction, then it's typically historical, something that's happened in the past. And a lot of childhood stuff, and we don't need to get into all of it, but that's a lot of the triggers.
Is there,
true.
So with that said, working through disagreements, but if someone's new to a relationship, or let's say they're going through therapy and they're doing a reset,
okay,
or they're new, what ground rules would be healthy coming out of the gate to start good patterns and habits early on versus doing corrections later?
So again, back to the not sweeping things under the rug, that you need to address things. And if you feel, and often, you know, and we all know what it feels like in our bodies to start to get upset. So if you start to feel that, don't ignore it. Bring it up. Talk about it. And a lot of times people don't know how to communicate, so then reach out for help and talk about things with a therapist, or individual therapy, couples therapy. Say, there's something happening here that I'm feeling very uncomfortable, and learn those skills, because it is a skill. Everybody doesn't have that, and that's what's pretty amazing, that I learn all of the time. I'm still amazed by certain things, and I think, and I'll say, well, you mentioned that to her, didn't you? Or you told him. Well, no, I didn't. And I think, okay, we're going to learn. We're going to take a step back. We're going to learn how to talk about your feelings, and it's okay. It is okay.
Silence is a language.
It is.
I know. And that's the worst, is when you have that silence, because it's like you don't really know what your partner is feeling until you come out and say it. And sometimes you're like, oh, I don't have time to talk about it right now, or you kind of put it on the back burner, like you said before. But when do you know it's time to go see a therapist with couples? Is there like a time where you're just like, all right, let's go?
I think everybody has different thresholds for disconnection. And that's where, some people can be completely disconnected for years and years and years and then think then an affair might happen and then they think, oh, it's time. Some people might have a month where they feel, gosh, we can't get back on the same page here and it's time. So it all depends. It just depends on your threshold. And I wish thresholds were lower so they would go sooner, because the sooner you get it, the sooner you get there and learn those skills and really talk about things, I think the better the outcome can be.
Right. It's easy to give up. It's easy to walk away, but it's tougher to stay and work it out.
There's a famous divorce attorney who said, if you're in my office, it's probably too late.
Oh, yeah.
So what you're saying is, raise your hand early on so that you don't get to that point of no return. But as a therapist, do you see in situations where people are setting therapy goals that it's, they're looking to rebuild, or they're looking to take a temperature check of, is it too late?
Yes. Should I stay or should I go?
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They're at that crossroads.
Right. And typically, one of the things that I say to people is that, again, that we're all imperfect. And one of the things that I will say is that, is what you're getting out of this relationship worth what you're grieving? Because we can't get everything from one person. So there's loss there, right? So is what you're getting from this person enough to make it okay to stay? You can't.
That's brilliant.
So that's
brilliant.
Yeah, that is.
And so those are the things that we talk about. What are you getting and what are you losing? And is this one, is this more?
Right.
And it's all different, right? It's all different. Everybody would say, well, I'm okay with him not having a job, and I will work full time, and I'm okay with this. And there might be another person that says, that doesn't work for me. Right. And so so there's not a prescription of this is
there's
the
not
exact
a manual that says, yeah.
Mm-mm.
And sometimes there's times where you do grow apart, and that you should part ways, for the kids' sake or for your sake. I've heard so many people that are older that are like, oh my gosh, we're so different. I don't even know why I stayed. It's just
right.
You can make it without somebody too. You can be alone.
Right. And often people do stay together for children, and I think that there's just some different schools of thought on that. That you do also want your children to see a healthy relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Right, because then they repeat the pattern.
Sure.
When they get married or they find somebody, a partner. You don't want that.
Are there some signs and behaviors in a person that they might be exhibiting that would be a telltale sign, whether it's in a romantic relationship or not, that would be good signals for someone to key into? Maybe a professional help is needed, because we talked about lowering that threshold, but is there something that we should look for? Because I always believe they're suffering in plain sight.
I think that I think one of the things that I talk about a lot with my clients, how disruptive is this to your daily life, your daily functioning, your sleep, your health, your eating, your job, things like that. Is whatever it is that you're experiencing, you're feeling, your anxiety, your sadness, your depression, is that affecting you enough to say, hey, I need to pull somebody in here to help me out? So that's what it is. And again, it's different for everyone, right? It's different for everyone. I think the main thing is to not be afraid to ask for help. It is so much more common now.
I know.
It used to be just a little bit of a taboo. You don't tell people that you're in therapy. It's all super private. I mean, and it's funny now. It's like I'll have people in my waiting room. They know each other. They're referring their friends, and it's
normalized.
It's
very healthy.
Yes. It's normalized.
And it's almost like you need that perspective from someone outside that doesn't know, but then they can see things in your relationship like, oh, wait a minute, I can see what's going on.
Without the bias.
Right.
And the history of friends, because friends always have a different perspective.
Right.
So true. I feel like I've learned so much. I feel like we're getting a free therapy lesson here.
Do you do ever like therapy tune-ups for like just, we take care of our car, we take care of
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you believe in that?
I
That
do.
you should have like
I
a
like
Well,
that.
and what's
Tune-up.
interesting too, I actually just had a text from a client who I have seen off and on for several years, more off lately, and she said, I need a tune-up. And so she'll come in and maybe once or twice, and then I'll say, okay, I'll see you in a year. I'll see you in 6 months or 2
Right.
years or something. So
one person can come and get their
Absolutely.
and say, listen, I'm getting mad about this and this,
Yeah,
and then you're
touch
like, all right,
base.
yeah, and then you're like, wait a second, you got to see their perspective. Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
bring things into awareness. So often, our past runs our future, and so there's things that are not in our awareness, and so that's kind of, hopefully what I can help.
Alyssa, is there anything that we didn't touch on today that
you
maybe
think
you
is
want to bring
important?
up?
I don't. One of the things, I know one of the questions there, one of the things we had talked about earlier was what is a quote or a saying or anything. And I like to say, and I try to do this myself, one of the things that when in a situation that when you're dealing with someone else, what is the most generous interpretation of that person's behavior?
I love that.
Behavior.
What is the most generous
generous
interpretation of someone's behavior?
Yes.
Given basically the benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you stay.
Yeah.
It
Right.
doesn't mean you don't have boundaries.
Right.
But what is that most generous interpretation?
And I think a lot of times what happens too is, when girlfriends get together, they're all like, well, yeah, I'm complaining about this, and I'm
Sure.
complaining about
Yes.
that. Oh my gosh, this was so wonderful. I
Thank
just so
you.
enjoyed. Thank you so much for taking the
welcome.
time.
Thank you for
Alyssa,
sharing with us
coming
your
and-
Wonderful
your
meeting both of you.
insights and
Yes.
your experiences, and to everyone at home, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you have gained from this, and if you have any questions, please feel free to
Yes.
reach out to Alyssa Robb
Yes.
at any time, and live your best life and love yourself.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Till next time.
Till next time.
Bye.